questions as well. Like the whole legal institutional setup that we know today, it's like a response to the past technological landscape. And in that way, all of these regulations, they like petrify the past technology, past technology scene that we know. Now with this new technological development, we somehow need to find like a response to regulators and to lawmakers, because they are concerned about some universal values such as investor protection, financial stability, things like that. These are really universal values that apply no matter what kind of technology we are dealing with. But at the same time, we have these technological solutions that really solve many of these problems. And at the same time, at the rule level, at the level of particular regulations, they just meet huge obstacles. Like for example, on the blockchain, settlement is very trade equals settlement, right? If you're trading, settlements happens on chain. At least that's possible to do that. Regulations, on the other hand, they demand that you use specialized institutions such as central securities depositories for getting this settlement, this additional settlement layer. So they are catering for some important principles, yet the rules are not necessarily adjusted to the new technological reality. So in order to really free up this potential of blockchain, financial markets, and financial infrastructure, this is probably a long-term goal of changing the regulatory landscape.
Great. So Ben, operating within the Maltese regulatory landscape and taking into consideration what we just heard, how do you feel from a practical point of view that the regulation has assisted with facilitating these kind of transactions?
Yes, first and foremost, good morning. I'm Benjamin Gvishti, a tax director at KSI Malta. My background is obviously more regulatory and tax oriented, but over the recent time I have sort of been involved in the fintech space, advising on a number of clients, mainly relocating to Malta. And yes, it's become a daily part of my job to advise foreigners, even Maltese people coming to Malta, and take advantage of the regulatory framework of Malta. Definitely the fintech space has evolved. Luckily enough, technology, the technology sector and the financial sector have found a very good way how they can combine to deliver enhanced financial products and solutions to the customers. And Malta has been in the forefront of trying to come up with the best possible regulatory framework for all the players involved. Some feedback that I get from our clients maybe is that some of our legal framework tends to be a bit onerous on their part, especially for startups wanting to venture into the ICO or its equivalent in terms of our law. So that is why sometimes you get the clients, as correctly stated, saying, if I'm going through all these onuses, I might as well consider an STO. And that is where maybe we've been pushing for a clearer legal framework locally in terms of STOs. But it's a fact that yes, demand seems to be shifting now towards the STOs. I fully agree, however, that the ICO market is not dead. There are certain things which cannot be achieved under an STO, but which are possible under the more traditional ICO. But again, in Malta, the vibe is that we're going there. So we're looking forward to have a clearer framework when it comes to STOs as well.
Thank you. So Kenneth, maybe you can give us a bit of an idea from a banking perspective. When linking the digital, like we're saying, all this new fintech ideas and regulation, it's difficult to keep up with all the AI developments, etc. From a banking point of view, because it seems to be something that we're experiencing even in practice. Why can't we open a bank account in the blockchain island? What kind of leeway do banks have to accept this technology and actually potentially onboard it?
Well, banks are like, playing the role of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and really they are actively involving themselves in the blockchain space, and we're seeing a number of banks, adopting this technology because it induces operational efficiency. But then when it comes to servicing virtual financial assets in particular, they're sitting on the fence. And I think there are a number of reasons underpinning that. First of all, the anonymity behind virtual financial asset ownership is a concern. And if we look at this within a European context, and if you look at the significant regulatory fines that, banks are being burdened with because of weaknesses on the AML front in terms of transactions in the fiat space, when they are now faced with operators coming forward with business models which involve the clearing and settlement of crypto assets, they are saying, I'm struggling with, putting my operations in shape for fiat-led transactions, and the absence of regulations at European level governing AML and KYC for virtual financial assets do not put me in a comfortable position to ensure that I have the appropriate processes and procedures in place governing that. Then secondly, I think the second concern is the hacking incidents that we've seen permeate this market over these last 5 to 7 years. They have been quite significant. And clearly banks, being the entities in the ecosystem with the deepest pockets, are the most likely ones to be litigated, right? So the banks are saying, for the third reason, which is reputation risks, I will not involve myself in servicing this sector. So on the one hand, they're adopting the technology, but on the other hand, they're not servicing businesses that are using this technology. And it's somewhat ironic, right? I think that within a European context, at European level, we need to really start pushing strongly the development of a European framework governing this particular segment. And I think what's missing from an industry point of view, because we're always criticizing regulators, is that there isn't a European body representing blockchain operators, representing virtual financial asset operators, that is interfacing with European regulators to really start pushing their feet on the pedal, right? And create a European framework to regulate this sector. I think banks want to participate in this arena, in this space, but the absence of a framework is leaving them on the fence. And this is IFIS operations. It's highly inefficient and very ready interest in the space. Some are querying whether CSDs, to refer to earlier, will be disintermediated and will become irrelevant. And we're seeing CSDs, teaming up together, MOUs being created with the likes of Euroclear, to take forward and invest in this